Welcome to the Asset Mindset Podcast, where we don't wait for opportunities, we create them. I'm your host, Daniel Fielding, former Green Beret, author, life coach, speaker. But enough about me. Let's get into today's special guest. We have an amazing guest today, former NFL player, Andy Levitre. Andy, please introduce yourself and say hello to the Asset Mindset audience.
Daniel, thank you for having me on, man. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to kind of share my story and my experiences in life, and yeah, share it with the rest of your followers.
That's fantastic. It's an honor to have you here. I love all your stories, your mindset, seeing the stuff you do, your philanthropic activities. That's kind of how we met and came across each other, and you've done some amazing things. But I want to let you know, in each episode, we dive deep into like mindset and habits and mission-driven thinking so we can help everyday people become high performers like yourself. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've accomplished so much in your football career, but then also post career. So that obviously was a big transition. So why don't you share one of your big transition moments and what that was like and how you were able to overcome such a dramatic transition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it started when I was young. I didn't really have. I grew up in a small town called Ben Lomond out in California. It's like a mountain town in the redwoods, the Santa Cruz area, and I didn't really have any aspirations or goals at the time to do anything big, and I ended up coming across playing football with some of my friends, and just I really enjoyed the process. And obviously just hanging out with my buddies is how it started, but eventually just fell in love with the sport and the grind and everything that comes with it, the discipline. And so for me, it was that transition for me was like my mind kind of flipped in terms of not knowing what to do and turn to be like, hey, this is exactly what I want to do,
Mm.
and I'm gonna commit myself to this. And I think with anything, if you have something that you really want to do, you're gonna put your time and effort into it to be great at that thing. And so for me, it happened to be football. So I poured my time, my effort. I was when I was a junior in high school, I was 340 pounds and really out of shape, but I was committed to the sport and wanted to continue my career, and so I made some sacrifices in my life to get to where I wanted to go, and that entailed losing some weight, continuing to train, and push hard through some tough times. I mean, being that large and trying to run sprints and stuff, you really got to tap deep into your mind and eliminate that self-talk where you just want to quit. So for me, there was a lot of that. Um, and I feel like once I was able to get through those barriers and kind of um, cross that threshold, it felt to me like I opened up this new pathway to sport, being a professional athlete eventually, but just knowing what my mind was capable of doing and kind of the outcomes of what comes from that.
So I want to dive into, you said self-talk that you were dealing with and battling with at that time period in your life. How were you able to defeat the negative self-talk?
I guess in the sports standpoint, it's like, hey, you're running sprints. You've run 15, you still got five to go. And so for me, it's like, hey, we got five left. We're going to do it the best we can do. And we're just going to keep going one foot in front of the other. Somebody who really resonates with me is the David Goggins, right? Like, I know he's kind of a hard ass and talks a lot about, you know, he's got a lot to say, but I do resonate a lot with that self-talk of pushing yourself past those limits and knowing that, when you get to the other side, like there's better things on the other side there if you can withstand the grind there. And so for me, that was kind of the mindset that I had built over time was being able to just kind of withstand the storm and know that there's some calm on the other side of that.
Now, obviously, when you were doing this in high school, David Goggins wasn't around and his book
Right.
and all that.
Right.
So was there someone else that really maybe lit a fire in your mind or your heart and got you, pushing that hard, or was there a mentor?
Um, I don't know mentor wise from that mindset. My grandfather was pretty instrumental in my career in helping me, being very supportive of me in that regards, in terms of taking my career where I wanted it to go. But from a mindset standpoint, I think it was a lot of, like I was saying, like self-talk and inner dialogue of, I wanted this and this is what
Mm.
I wanted to do. And this is what I was willing to sacrifice or push through to get there.
So you had your why. Your why was like, "Hey, I wanna do this. I have a passion, and my purpose is to be a football player, and I'm gonna be the best football player I can be."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just, pushing through the hard times and knowing that, it's going to come to an end at some point and you're going to be able to recover, whether, even if it's really hard now, um, you're not going to die and we'll be right back in there and you'll be on there next week doing the same thing and kind of rinsing and repeating.
No, that's good. So what would you tell any young kid now that's, in a sport or trying to do something and they feel like they're struggling, they don't quite have what it takes at the moment, what would you give them for words of encouragement?
Yeah. I would say, consistency is a big part of it, to showing up even when you don't feel like it. You just got to make those hard decisions. And if it's something that you're really passionate about, being consistent and the hard days may not be as good as the good days, but, um, the cumulative effect, I think, will have a greater impact, in whatever it is you want to do, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships. I think showing up and being consistent is an integral part of that.
So in your career, when was the point and you were like, wow, I really have a shot at this and I can make this happen? Or was there one?
Yeah. So for me, in college, I guess, in high school, it was more of like the recruiting process, not really sure where that was going to fall. Um, I guess I'll take a step back on that is, when I was in high school, we had VHS tapes still. I don't know if many people know what those are nowadays, but, so I took 2 VHS players and hooked them up, wired them together and basically made my own highlight tape, let's call it, with a grainy film and my grandfather, like I mentioned earlier, helped me. He kind of helped fund the letters basically, but I sat in my bedroom and made 100, probably around 100 VHS tapes of my highlight tape. And I went on the internet, which was still relatively new at the time. This was 2002, 2000, yeah, 2001, 2002. And, found addresses of these colleges and mailed off these tapes in hopes that maybe somebody would see it and like what they saw and offer me a scholarship. And so, I ended up getting my first scholarship offer, from that. And it happened to be, LSU when Nick Saban was the head coach there right before. I think they had just come off the national championship in '02, which was kind of shocking for me. So yeah, I can't remember where I was going with this story. But yeah, so it kind of, helped me, again, me putting in the effort to make that happen and kind of, you know, taking the initiative to make my dreams become a reality, was instrumental getting me to college. And then, you know, going from college to the professionals, I feel like I had that, a chance, let's say, because you never know how it's going to pan out once you get in there. But, um, playing against guys, competing against guys that, you see that are older than you that end up going in the draft and having successful careers, in the NFL. I started getting these thoughts like, hey, if I can play well against so and so and he's doing really well in the NFL, I think I got a chance here to maybe make it to the next level. And so for me, it was always, hey, I want to do everything in my power to get that opportunity. You know, and so, you know, I was in college, you know, I hung out with the guys and went out. But for me, I was very, I had, you know, I had some non-negotiables of not going out on certain nights of the week and making sure that, you know, I was at my best come game day so that I could perform and take care of business then. So, you know, there were some sacrifices along the way and, you know, ended up getting drafted. I didn't know where I was going to get drafted. I ended up getting drafted in the second round, which if you had asked me before, I would have told you probably maybe a late rounder or something. But regardless of where it was more of an opportunity for me to showcase my skills.
Oh, that's amazing. So a lot of people think, to be successful in life, you just to have luck. From your story and what I'm hearing from you, it wasn't all luck. There might have been a little bit of luck, but it
Yeah.
sounds like it takes a lot more hard work and talent. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. You know, I guess my experience has always been mostly the hard work. Um, I personally don't feel like I was ever like a heavily, you know, naturally talented kid, let's say. You know, like I said, I was 340 pounds, not in good shape, by the way. Not like you know, like I worked out all the time. I had, you know, before I started high school, never really lifted weights. So I was definitely like an out of shape 340-pound kid. And for me, the theme for me throughout my career, whether it was high school, whether it was college or pros, was always a hard work is kind of helped get me to where I wanted to go.
Yeah, hard work definitely. I think was Tim Tebow says it, hard work beats talent any day, right? Like it's,
Absolutely. I agree.
and you get the special sauce if you have some talent and you do the hard work, then you get
Yeah,
to be unstoppable.
that's right.
And
That's right.
I got to say, you're very humble because it's incredible to get in the NFL. I mean, it is such an elite level of athlete or performance and dedication. It's similar to, yeah, anybody can kind of join the military, but to be special forces, you got to go that extra step. And I like that you're here because you can share a different perspective on going that extra step or that extra mile so that people can learn like, yeah, you don't have to be special forces or, you can do other things if you have the right mindset. Whatever your goal or your dream is, you can accomplish it with the hard work and dedication. So someone that's maybe stuck in a victim mentality and thinks they can't, how would you help them or what would you say to them?
You know, I think a big part of it is just reframing your thoughts. You know, having being confident in your abilities or what it is that you want to accomplish, and taking small steps. Don't you know? I think some people think too big, which is good. It's good to have big, you know, a big goal, but I think you know you got to take these micro steps to get to where you want to go. You know, for me, when I was in high school, I wasn't thinking about the NFL. I was thinking of, you know, hey, I want to win this game or I want to play well in this game. And you stack games and you do well. And then next thing you know, you're in college and it's, you know, similar deal. So whether it's in the sports or in business or life, you know, it's setting goals for yourself and then setting small goals to get you to where that ultimate goal is that you want.
Yeah, stepping stones, or like we talk in the military, we say, hey, take care of that 20-meter target. That's your
Yeah.
immediate threat. Don't
Yeah.
worry about 1,000 meters down, click away. Let's take care of this. And then we'll move forward and keep moving forward. And then, like you said, you stack and it builds and you make progress. That's where if people can do something every day to chase their dream, whatever it is, big or small, days stack up. And before you know it,
Absolutely.
you're a mile down the road or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, what do you think contributed most to your success in the NFL?
To my success, I think it was my like I said earlier, the hard work. You know, I put in the time. I was committed to being my best. I think sometimes people get the wrong vision of trying to be better than certain someone. And at the end of the day, and I definitely had this realization later in my career, but you're really competing against yourself. You know, you're trying to push yourself to be your best self and be better every day, not so much, hey, I want to be better than this guy. That just comes with it. That's part of your process as you improve. You'll eventually become better than somebody else that maybe isn't, taking the right steps like you are. So, um, at the end of the day, you're going to be competing against people that may be more talented than you, but you take care of your process and you stack that and you're going to have good things happen to you.
I love that. Wise words, take ownership, and you are your ultimate opponent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's where your biggest challenge comes from, the person you look in the mirror. So, we've talked about you as the individual. Let's talk about how important it is to have positive people around you, or like a good team or good teammates in life or football.
Yeah. You're saying in football?
Well, life or football. I mean, how important is it? I'm trying to let people know, and your thoughts on having good people around you, being surrounded with good people, positive people, and how that affects you and your goals.
Yeah. Some of the best teams that I've been able to play with had guys that were like-minded, that had similar goals, that worked as hard or sometimes harder. And so being in a room with people that are going to push you to be, bring the best out of you. I think that for me, I had a couple teams in college I played with, same with the pros, high school as well, obviously. So I was lucky to have some of those experiences. And then I was also able to see, you know, some teams that we were not as successful. And you kind of, if you start looking at that, you see those relationships and they're definitely not as tight. They're not, you don't have guys that are pushing you to be your best. Yeah, and there's some missing links there you see. So I felt like that was huge, and I feel like you can sense it in the room throughout the season, um, of when you have a good group of people in the room, and having a good support staff. I feel like that the results are just tremendously better, and your experience is better too. I mean, I remember in 2016 we played in the Super Bowl, and even though we lost the game, that season was just so special that the group of guys that we had, everybody was such a competitor. But it's also some of the most fun I've ever had playing football. Like I think I had more fun playing football that year than I had, goofing off with my buddies in high school playing football. So it was, it's special to have the right people in the or in the same room as you. It definitely is a game changer, whether again sports or business or life. My wife has been instrumental in being super supportive of me through my career, and come home during some rough days. She's always been there for me. So having a good support staff is definitely crucial. There's going to be some times you're going to need to lean on somebody, and there's going to be some people that need to lean on you. So being there for your people is good as well.
Absolutely. And I really like the message that you just shared, as far as you didn't win the Super Bowl that year, but that was still your best or most special year and with the teams. Did I get that right? Because I think
Yeah,
people, sometimes think too much on that goal and they forget about the journey,
yeah,
because you can really, a lot of your times that you spend in life, the journey is what makes it special.
really is. I mean, I think that season really hammered that home for me too. Is enjoying the journey. At the end of the day, that's what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember, what happened at the end. That's kind of just a byproduct of the culmination of that season. So, but it was just, yeah, it was so much fun. And, that's definitely going to be the thing that stuck with me the most, whether we won or lost. I think, that would be the story that I would tell if we had won or lost.
Do you have any interesting stories that you can tell from locker room or behind the scenes on the field that maybe, would be inspirational, or even some laughter? People like to laugh and smile.
Oh man, it's been a while. It's been 7, 8 years since I've been in a locker room. I'd have to dig deep to figure that one out. Um, if something comes to mind, I'll share, but, I don't know if anything's popping into my head right at the moment.
What lessons or things from life in the NFL could you share with like the average person that's listening that would apply also in their life? So it's not just a, NFL football player lesson. How can that cross over to regular people that are just have a career or doing something else or have whatever goal they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, there's one like coaches used to say one snap and clear, kind of, in terms of like if you have a in football terms, it's more of like, hey, if you have a bad play, don't sit there and dwell on this last play. You got to clear your mind, be in the present moment and move forward. We're on to the next play. If you're sitting there and thinking about the play before, you're probably going to have another bad play, and you're going to stack some negative situations there. So, um, you know, transitioning that into life, I try and take that approach. Some bad stuff's going to happen. I have young kids at home, or they're going to get sick, or somebody's going to get hurt, and it's kind of like, hey, this is the situation. We don't have to sulk on it. We're dealing with the situation in the moment, in the present, and we're going to move forward. We don't have to continue to stress about things that had happened in the past, or be overly uptight about something that we can't really control.
Well, that's great. I love what a wise coach. Like one snap and then clear it. Let it go. It's behind you. It's water under
Yep,
the bridge. That is
that's
a
right.
powerful concept that really can apply to anybody's life because we're all going to have bad plays or bad
Yeah.
days. It
Yep.
happens. So let it go, accept it, learn from it, and then move on, clear it, and have your next play, your next day,
Right.
whatever it is you're going to
Yeah.
accomplish. That's
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Whether
very
it's day to day, you don't want to stack bad days. So, it's a new day, fresh start, and yeah, don't dwell about the past.
full and powerful stuff, man. That's great things. So now you're coming to the end of your career. Did you already know what you were going to do when you got out, or what was transition like? Because I know for us in the military, especially in special operations, you're at such a high level and you're doing so many different things with such amazing people, and you lose your team, your purpose and kind of things what you're doing. Transition can be very difficult. Do you find that also flows over into NFL players?
Yeah, and actually, I know there's a group called MVP. It's called Merging Vets and Players. They they merge. They got a group of veterans and former athletes. I don't know if it's all NFL, XF NFL guys, but kind of in a group together, because it sounds like there's a lot of carryover in both of those worlds, where you become a civilian, and you're kind of back, you're used to being regimented and having a day-to-day thing, and now all of a sudden you're home and you have no, you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, or kind of where life's going. So that was difficult for me. I still feel like there's sometimes where I'm like, yeah, what am I doing, or what do I want to do here long term? But it's finding, it's for me, it was finding um a regiment, finding a way to work out every day, or as many days as I can, or however I wanted to structure that, and making that a priority, being around with my family, having dinner with my kids, finding out, you think about what's important to you, and then making sure you implement those things into your daily life, just to give you some structure, right? Yeah, took me a while to figure that out, I think, but I do believe that's super important.
Absolutely. So what do you think helped you the most in your transition?
Honestly, I think my wife really just helped, like, prompt me to start thinking about those things, and being proactive about making sure you take care of those things that are important to you. Um, to feel purposeful, right? You want to feel purposeful again, whether you were in the military, or in a career in sports, to feel like you have a sense of purpose again, and also community. Being around other people, like, you have a locker room of guys, you're running around with, and you build these relationships, and then you kind of leave and you're not around them anymore. And so you kind of miss those things and you want to reconnect, but hey, for you, maybe some guys are still in the military, or for me, some guys are still playing football. And so it's kind of hard to stay in consistent contact with some of those people. And everybody lives around the country, so you don't get to see them on the day to day anymore. So, in building a new community, wherever it is that you stay, or existing community, if you have people in the city you're in already. So, yeah, I think that that's really important to help kind of get you back in terms of having a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I think you're right on with the purpose because you have to have a sense of purpose. Otherwise, you're just floating around in the world on autopilot and not really doing anything. When you have a direction and a purpose, and you also added community, which I think is very powerful because you had your NFL community. I had my military community. And then when you leave these communities, you don't want to be by yourself and alone. That's stagnant, not good. You need to find a new community. So if anybody's out there going through a transition, listen to what Andy's saying and find a new community. Find people that are like minded. Find a purpose again. I know for you, being a healthy dad is very important. I follow you and see what you're doing and all the different things, and whether it be saunas or all the stuff. Can you share some of your routine on what you do to maintain yourself post NFL?
Yeah, I've kind of committed to trying to better my health. Being retired and having some more flexibility with time is trying to just, I guess you want to call it, optimize my health here, and just kind of getting all the aches and pains from football, and trying to lessen the impact that that will have on my life here, as I age and get older. I wanted to make sure that I was able to spend time with my kids and play with them. So, um, yeah, I spend a lot of time. I don't lift as heavy as I used to when I was playing, but I try to work out, and stay active. I need to get back into running, honestly. So I think this will be a good, now that I said this on air, it'll get me, spark a fire in me to,
Accountability.
yeah, I need to be accountable to myself to start running again. But yeah, so I'll do that. I'll do the cold plunge, sauna. I'll do some occasional blood work just to make sure things are in the right place, or find out where I need to, you know, where I can do better, with vitamins and such. So, that's kind of, I'd say I try and get 4 to 5 days in, a week, and about an hour of lifting weights. And then I'll try and walk about 30 minutes a day at least. And then, yeah, and then spending time with my kids and my family and taking care of some business. So, it keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of the things. And you're a big traveler. You're all over the place. Sometimes I'm like, where's Andy now? What? He's in Europe.
Yeah, that's gonna slow down a little bit, but yeah, the last couple of years we've been kinda off the rails with traveling. So, yeah, is that cool, something, I really enjoy getting to share with my kids and see some really cool stuff, that they may not get to see. And, a lot of people don't get a chance to see that things, or those types of things. So, I'm really fortunate to be able to offer those experiences to my kids.
And you're aware of it. That's so important.
Yeah.
That's important. Those are life memories. It's shaping. It's something that will never go away. I know recently I saw this thing that kids don't remember like Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, but they remember their vacations. Like if you say, "Hey, what'd you, get for your 10th birthday?" Oh, I don't know. But what'd you do when you were 10 years old? What vacation did we go on? Things stick. So experiences for children and the parent relationship and are so powerful. And I love that you do that. And I'm sure you see a lot of positivity come from that. So what's it been like to provide that to your kids?
It's been great. I mean, it just from like a storytelling, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying about like the memories that stick with my children. I feel like we start correlating some of our experiences now to some of these trips that we went on. I mean, I know my kids will never forget. We had lemon sorbet in Italy, and it was like the best thing they've ever eaten. So anytime we see lemon sorbet somewhere at an ice cream store or something, like that comes up, they're like, "Oh, I remember that was so good." And yeah, it's just been great. Yeah, again, I really enjoy creating these experiences with my kids. And, it just gives us some great stories to tell, and it helps them, you know, tell stories to us, or we can share stories down the road as we relive similar experiences. So yeah, we're gonna take our kids to Yellowstone and the Tetons this summer, so that'll be another cool experience for them.
Wonderful. What lessons in life do you think they get from traveling?
Um, I think they can see different cultures and just how there's um different, like how different things are, and also how they can be appreciative of how good of a life that they have. You can go to countries that are not doing so well, like a third world type country, and it really puts things into perspective that here in America, I mean, we have got it pretty darn good. So, in that instance, and also being charitable and helping other people out, I feel like that's another way to help our kids realize, what a nice life that we've been able to provide for them. But also put into perspective that there are people there that, may need some help, and to be humble and not, um, you know, try and brag on having this opportunity that you have. And, yeah, so I think if we try and keep things into perspective to them, that, like, although you get to do a lot of fun stuff, there's still, people that need help, and just know that, like, you have a really good life here.
Yeah, gratitude. How important is gratitude?
It's good. Our family we've kind of fallen off a little bit, but we used to talk about, what we were grateful for every day before our dinners. It's another thing I gotta add back to the daily dinner, menu there. But, it is important, and, if for children, I think it's, especially important because it's easy to kinda get carried away, especially in today's world. There's just so many material things, um, but just being grateful for, like, the small things and the relationships that we have. It's a great skill for our children to have. So I do think that is something that, we can continue, and we can all continue to grow in that space there.
Yeah. How do you think gratitude can help fight negativity?
I think gratitude would help you feel more, positive. If you have negative thoughts, you're kind of looking at more of the positive side of things, and, um, you changing your mindset, kind of, right? Like, you're not thinking about negative things. You're trying to find ways to think of the positive, and if you can continually attach yourself to the positive things, I think eventually you can change the way that you think. And I know there's been a lot of science and studies on that, about having daily gratitude, or meditation or mindfulness. You can really shift your mindset in terms of the way that you think, especially if you're coming from having a negative mindset and wanting to be positive.
So, what do you do to work on your mindset?
Um, I actually, one of my New Year's resolutions was to be more, take a little bit more mindfulness. Just trying to take a step back from the day to day grind, and just, think about and be appreciative of, find, something small that you may not think about on the day to day, and just say, like, you know what, I'm really appreciative that, I have this, or that so and so did that, or, maybe doing something, I just decided I was going to help my wife's part of a nonprofit cancer charity, and, so I just offered to, help, volunteer to deliver some meals. They deliver meals to, cancer patients and their caretakers for 12 weeks while they're going through treatment. So, I volunteered some of my time to go help them out. So, um, finding ways to give back to the community, or even, being appreciative to the things that I have, in my day to day life, that just kind of go unnoticed unless I'm conscious about them.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, getting involved in any philanthropic organization or nonprofit and doing things like that, people don't understand how much you get from it. You get a lot of feel good vibes. It's almost in a selfish way, helping people helps yourself,
Yeah.
It's very powerful, but it helps keep you grounded too. It makes you appreciate things. When you see people like you mentioned going to third world countries or traveling, seeing people that are struggling or people that are struggling with health issues and they're sick and they need help. Like we all struggle sometimes. And to be able to be in a position to help like you do is incredible, and I know you stepped up and, I was working with the Green Beret Foundation. You helped with Rock the Green Beret in the past and super grateful for that. You've always been giving, and I think that really helps you find peace, doesn't it, when you're able to help other people?
Yeah, I'm very blessed to be in the situation that I am in, and so I feel like if I can give back to the community, my wife and I've had many conversations about that. Like, how can we do more and give back? Be supportive to those who help our community be great. People like the Green Berets, the Rock the Green Beret. Yeah, so I feel like we try and find. I don't know if we're like 100% attached to like one specific charitable place, but
Mhm.
we like to find places that align with our values and what we're passionate about and give back in that space.
That's that's such a good thing to do. That is such a mature thing to do, and I'm proud of you, man, because some people never figure that out. You're a great example for others in so many ways. I mean, from young kids to wanting to be a football player to people that want to get into real estate or be, successful in life, a good dad. And, I see the way you interact with your kids and how important they are to you, how you're taking your health serious. That is so important. All these things, like you said, stack up.
Yeah.
You're doing the hard work and it's creating a good life. So if someone was down and out and wanted to create a good life or was struggling, what would you tell them to do first?
That's a good question. Um, I would say to have some support, if you have a loved one or somebody that um, who like maybe who the first person you would call if you found out, I don't know, that there was, if there was something really important in your life, who's the first person that you would think of to call? And that's probably the person to lean on, to get some support and to really start talking through what it is you want to do, or what your goals or aspirations are. Start brainstorming those things. But I feel like having somebody, if you're kind of just sitting there by yourself, it definitely makes it difficult. It's easy to feel defeated and like you're not going anywhere. So having a different mind that can help you kind of maybe get you out of the hole that you're in, and if they can whittle you loose, then you can start making some progress in that regard. But I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but yeah, having that community there to lean on and really, yeah, don't feel bad asking for help. I think that's the hard thing, or people feel like they're being draining to other people to ask for support. And I think, as human beings, I think we need that. So I think that's really important for us to talk to other people, to start formulating ideas, and let share your concerns or whatever it is, and then let them kinda help you, guide you in the right direction until you can get on your feet.
No, great advice. Yeah, reach out. You got to reach out to people. If you're battling something, whatever it is, depression, anxiety, different things as far as mental, and you're thinking about not being here anymore, well, that's not good. You need to reach out. Don't be afraid. We all
Yeah,
struggle. We all have bad days. There's, so many things that we all struggle with. You're not alone. And you'd be
that's
surprised when you reach out to somebody else, they're going to be like, I've been there, or I get what you're saying. So find somebody that's close to you that loves you and reach out to them. And if you're in that small percentage that you don't have somebody right there that you feel comfortable, there's plenty of organizations. Walk into a local church, pick up the phone, call certain hotlines. There's all kinds of people out there that have love in their heart that want to help people. And you just take that step and reach out. Andy's 100% right. There's so much love in the community. I know we get pounded all the time with all the bad negative stuff on the news or what you're seeing or people talking. Yeah, there's a lot of evil in the world, but there's a lot of good too. And understand that. And when you reach out to good people, good things are going to happen. So,
Absolutely.
Andy, I'm so grateful that you're doing what you're doing. You're doing so many things that impact people in different ways. Can you share something that maybe people don't know about you that you could share with the audience that might be a surprise?
I might be surprised. Hmm.
How about something as far as business wise or real estate? Would people be surprised by what you do and what your business or life is now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people would perceive me in terms of the real estate, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I've just kind of been building a nice little real estate portfolio here in the background since I've been retired from football. Yeah, I got my real estate license. I'm licensed in Tennessee and California. And just kind of, yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of, I guess I'm not like on the forefront of the real estate world, but just kind of doing my own thing behind the scenes there in that space.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people don't realize though, is like you were a football player and did very athletic things. You're not doing a football coach or doing the training thing, like you've got into real estate. You can
Yeah.
change, what you're doing. That's one chapter of your life was football. Now you're on another chapter, a dad, doing business. Real estate is tricky business. You had to learn
Right.
it. You got your license, right? Like
Yeah.
that must have been an interesting transition, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It was when the whole world was shut down from COVID. I ended up, sitting at home, and I was in California at the time, which was lockdown. So I was like, what am I going to do? And so I just kind of made the best of the situation. And I was like, hey, I'm going to study for my real estate license. And ended up getting my real estate license in California. And then my wife and I decided to move to Tennessee. And so I said, hey, well, I guess I'm going to study to get my license in Tennessee. And so did that and had my license in hand before I actually even moved back to Tennessee. So,
So cool.
yeah, but yeah, no, it's, I guess the real estate game I'm playing is a little more of a slow grind here. From a day to day standpoint, it's not like a 9 to 5 situation, which is, it's good for me. Gives me the flexibility to go still work out, be around for my kids. I kind of do a lot of the back end work for my properties to still take care of paperwork and all that jazz. So yeah, it fills my cup, keeps me busy. I may volunteer to coach a high school team this year here in Nashville,
Oh,
so we'll see how that goes. We'll
that would be
see.
very cool. I'm sure you'd
Yeah.
love it. And I know the kids would get a lot from it. You're a great role model. You got a great heart, giving man. And it's just so cool to have people like you in the world that actually want to make a difference, are making a difference, and lead by example. They're not just all talk. You do it, you make it happen. And I think that's one of the things you're very humble and you sell yourself short with like, oh, I had this downtime, it's COVID, negative. You could have sat on the couch like how many other people and just watched Netflix and not done anything. You're like, nope, what can I do for my time? You
Right.
made stuff happen, and making things happen and taking action, that's what leads to progress. Don't get
Absolutely.
stuck. Don't be a couch potato. All right, Andy. So I want to ask you a question now. As far as all your experiences in life and NFL and transitioning and doing other things and being a dad, what would you give your younger self for like the top three things that you would tell yourself, hey, you need to do this to have a successful life?
To have a successful life, I would say you need to set some goals. Um, you need to be willing to, these goals need to be realistic enough to where you'd be willing to make sacrifices to get to your goal. And then be consistent on your approach to reach that goal, whatever that may be. And I think the one that's going to take, some people have a clear path as to their goals. Others, it's a little muddy. So, you may need to spend a little more time in that world if you have some uncertainty. but I think establishing a goal, is step number one to give you some direction as to what you want to work towards.
Okay, so goal setting
Yep.
and what else?
Well, oh yeah. So I was saying, so goal setting, and then um, sacrifice.
Okay.
So being willing to sacrifice. Say there's, say everybody's going out for, drinks or something, and you're like, hey, I need to be at home studying for this test. Being able to, make some sacrifices in your life to ultimately get to your goal. They don't have to be huge sacrifices. I guess depending on the situation there. But be willing to, right? Like know that, making good decisions in terms of like um, what you can sacrifice to get there, right? And I mean, for me, you know, like I was saying in college, I wouldn't go out during the week to drink or go out with my buddies because I wanted to focus on the game. After the game, we'd go out, grab a couple of beers, but during that week, that was kind of off for me, like a non-negotiable. Um, and then being consistent was my other thing. You know, showing up even when it's hard, even when you don't want to do something. And I think getting to that, that will help you get to the goal that you want um, to achieve.
No, I like that. Yeah, definitely. Goal setting is very important. You need to know where you want to go in life. And if
Yeah.
you don't know, you got to spend time trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
and then absolutely sacrifices, no matter what it is you're going to do and choose in life, you got to be willing to sacrifice for it, whether it's time, whether, you got banged up, I'm sure, multiple times.
Yeah.
You're probably dealing with injuries just like soldiers deal with injuries.
Absolutely.
Um, do you find a lot of injuries that come back and haunt you, or how do you deal with them? Or is there like, obviously linemen, you're banging heads a lot. How's the
Yeah.
TBI stuff? Or
Yeah. I still got stuff that I deal with. It kind of comes in waves. So, when I go to work out, a lot of it is just trying to, I guess, address, some of the injuries that I had, and try and do like, I guess, corrective exercises to help kind of offset some of those injuries. So, I could use it as an excuse to not work out anymore, but, I still want to find a way to be active and healthy and, um, honestly, like prolong not having to be in pain as long as I can. So for me, I feel better, trying to move my body than I do sitting around. So, I try and find things to be active. I started doing jujitsu a little bit. So, just trying to find little ways to see if I can, prolong staying in shape and being healthy.
that's so smart. You got to stay active.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're not active, then you're stagnant. And when you're stagnant, that's where things like, I mean, you can think of it as a car or gears or anything. Like if it's just sitting there, it's going to rust and corrode and get stuck. You got to
Yeah.
keep moving, An object in
Absolutely.
motion tends to stay in motion. So
Absolutely.
that's great advice as far as goal setting, sacrifice, consistency, discipline to do the right thing. You're doing the right thing, man. And I just, I can't thank you enough for doing all the stuff you do. And I'm proud of you for the things you do as a dad. I'm proud of you for inspiring others to do good things and your sacrifices to help organizations and, maybe being a football coach here again or something, getting back
Yeah.
involved with football. That's interesting. You heard it here first on the Asset Mindset
That's right.
podcast.
That's right. That's right. Well, man,
Andy's going to start running again.
well, yes, I do need to start running, and gratitude. I got to start doing that again as well.
And
But
I got a workbook for you if you want it. You can check it out.
all
It's
right,
a
I'll take.
30-day challenge like workbook. You
Okay.
can do some self-assessment and all that. Go to the
Sure.
website, theassetmindset.com. It's on there. And there's an advanced one too if you really want to push yourself.
Okay. I'm gonna look it up after we get off this call.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, give me any feedback.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to leave the audience before we go? Anything you want to say?
Man, I just want to say thank you for having me on here and allowing me to share my story and the others that you've had on your podcast in the past as well. I think this is great, and I think it's a very useful tool if somebody feels like they're stuck. I think this is a great way to kind of change your mindset and see things from a different perspective. Hopefully it can be the jolt that you need to get you going. So I really do appreciate your work here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you sharing your knowledge. I mean, that one snap and clear, that's so powerful, along with other things you said. It's been amazing. Great show. I love your attitude, your smiles, the laughs, everything. I always have fun talking to you and hanging out. Audience, please give us a like, follow, and share. Definitely. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, to like, and share. If you're interested in anything Andy's doing, I'll put some of his stuff in the description. You can follow him, give him a follow, and support what he's doing and other causes. And thank you again for being here. God bless and own your power.